Are you getting set to cruise this year or next? Looking for some cruise tips? Join us as we review the top 10 cruise tips of 2022. And as always, folks, if you enjoy this content, please like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications to get notified each time we post. My guest today is Anne-Marie Gaudet, co-owner of Cruise Holiday Select. A certified cruise specialist, Anne-Marie has been designing custom cruise vacations for her guests in Ontario, New Brunswick, and across Canada since 1998. Hi, Anne-Marie. Welcome to RTE Travel Talk.
Hi, Ken. How are you?
Oh, great, Anne-Marie. It's great to have you with us again.
Thanks for having me again.
So, Anne-Marie, tell me, how many years have you been building cruises for folks?
Well, I've owned my own business since 1998. So next year will be 25 years, believe it or not. But I've been in the travel industry for 28 years. And so 28 years.
And how many cruises do you think you've been on in that time?
Wow. At least 150, at least.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
That's what I thought. So as they say, you've seen a thing or two.
I have. I definitely have.
So, Anne-Marie, one thing that's high on the list that we hear from viewers and listeners is, do you have any cruise tips for us? Now, I know if you look on the internet, there's all kinds of advice from across the web from cruisers, bloggers, even cruise lines themselves. I thought today that perhaps that you and I could review perhaps the top 10 tips and get your thoughts as a true expert on each one of them. How does that sound?
Sounds good to me.
All right. So the very first one that comes to mind is know your cruise line. What's entailed with that, Anne-Marie? Why is that important?
Well, there's so many cruise lines out there. And not only know your cruise line, know your difference in ships, because even in between a cruise line, there's certain differences between ship classes. But every cruise line markets to a different lifestyle or age group or, things like that. So some market to an older crowd, some market to families, some market to younger, what are they called now? Millennials. Right. So you need to know your cruise line because you want to have the best vacation that's your vacation.
Right.
So if you're 20 something and you go on the cruise line that is more for an older crowd, like 70, 75, you could still have a good time because cruising is amazing, but you're not going to have as good a time as you would have being on the cruise line that was right for you. So that's why it's very, very important. Even amongst luxury cruise lines, clients want to go on luxury, which is great, but there's a difference between luxury cruise lines. Some luxury cruise lines, it's a shirt and tie every night for dinner.
Right.
And some people don't want that, even in luxury. So that's why it's very important to know the nuances between the different cruise lines.
Makes total sense. Sense.
Yes.
The next thing on the list, and I can identify with this, is choose your stateroom wisely. Not all cruise line staterooms are equal, right?
Exactly. Oh, exactly. If you're somebody like myself, I always prefer a balcony, but I've cruised over 150 cruises. I'm at the point right now that if it's the difference between me cruising or not cruising, I'll take a broom closet. But that's me, right? It is very important. Once again, even if you're in a suite, it's still very important where you are. I try to put my clients on a deck where there's you're not below the buffet restaurant, because if you're not a morning person, like they're usually vacuuming at 5 o'clock in the morning, and sometimes you can hear that. So it is very, very important. If you're worried about seasickness, you don't want to be at the top part of the ship, or at the front of the ship, or at the back of the ship. It's very important where you are, where the cabin is that you pick, and very different experience from what you get.
And again, that probably varies from ship to ship.
Exactly.
Right on, right on. One of the things that is all the rage and is the latest thing in cruise advice is use the cruise lines app. Now, why is that important, Anne-Marie?
I agree and disagree with that.
All right.
Again, not all apps are created equal.
Right.
The app to do your online check-in for most of the cruise lines is excellent. It's a lot easier now that we have to show that we're vaccinated and things like that, which we usually have those certificates on our phones. Right. So it's easier to upload it to the app.
Okay.
instead of the old fashioned way on the computer, and so it's a lot easier. And when you're checking in, of course, your sign and sail card is there. So they just have to scan it. So that makes it easier. On board the ship, there's still a lot of kinks to work out. And I find that some cruise lines actually, you can chat with, if you're with other people, you can chat with them, like, where are you kind of thing, through their app. But some charge for that. So they're not all created equally. I can honestly say, I think in every app that I've used in the last little while, there's not one that's perfect yet. No.
Okay.
They
So it's still kind of a work in progress.
Absolutely.
Use the app for check-in, but maybe don't let it spoil your vacation when you're on board.
Exactly. Don't live by it. In other words, they still have some kinks to work out.
Okay, sounds great. So the next one is one, and I'm actually guilty of it because I'm an avid cruiser, and we used to actually have a packing room when I'd get so excited about having a cruise, is packing smart, and invariably I packed way more stuff than I actually needed. How does that work for you?
After all the cruising and traveling I've done, I'm still not the best packer, I will admit. And I'm a last minute packer. But I have learned over the years, what I personally am finding is really helping me to pack is packing cubes. They're, little carriers, little pouches. And I find they really help me to pack smarter. The one thing to remember is, and what has helped me is, especially more, I guess, for women, we worry about wearing the same thing 2 times or 3 times.
Right.
What I think about is, when you're on a cruise ship, do you notice that somebody's wearing something? Do you think, oh, she wore that 2 days ago? Nobody remembers that, right? But they don't know. So that's what I always keep in the back of my head. Okay, I can wear this on this day and on this day, so that it cuts down. So instead of bringing, say you're going on a 7-night cruise, instead of bringing 21 tops, you're bringing maybe 10, or give or take. So that's what I try to keep in mind, is that I know what I'm wearing, but nobody else knows what I'm wearing. So be comfortable. One of the other packing tips that actually came in very handy when my husband and I did the Galapagos years ago, when you're going on a cruise with a significant other, don't just pack your suitcase and then pack their suitcase. Split it up, half and half. And the reason being, my suitcase got lost and I still had clothes to wear because I had clothes in my husband's suitcase. That's the best piece of advice I could give when packing.
Okay. Which also brings me to one of our next tips is, tell me whether you think it's still relevant, is to pack a carry-on for day one.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Even if your luggage doesn't get lost, when you arrive, the worst thing you want to do is have to go through your luggage to find a suitcase, a swimsuit, or to find, a change of clothes because you're, been hot and sweaty. So absolutely put a change of clothes, a bathing suit and a change of clothes, and even an extra pair of shoes in your carry-on. Yeah.
Because your luggage is not going to, once you board the ship, your luggage is not going to show up right away. It
Absolutely.
could be a few hours before you see all of your luggage.
And even if you fly in a day early, like when you get to the hotel, once again, like I said, you don't want to be shuffling through your suitcase that's nicely packed, waiting to get on board the ship. If you're so having a bathing suit handy, go down and enjoy the pool.
Right. One of the things that adds to your vacation or your cruise is specialty dining. Should you plan your specialty dining ahead?
If it's something that you really, really want to do, absolutely. On Celebrity, they have Le Petit Chef, which is, you have to experience once. It's just amazing. Right. And it does sell out. So I would absolutely book that ahead of time. If you have a special occasion that you want to do specialty dining at, book it ahead of time. If you're just like, well, maybe we'll do it, maybe we won't, then you can wait till you're on board. But just know that you may be disappointed if they don't have the day and time that you want. So if it's something that you very specifically have a day and time that you're wanting, book it ahead of time.
Right. And then would that also apply to excursions and onboard events?
Absolutely, yes. Especially some of the cruise lines, you can pre-book your show times.
Right.
That because they get sold out. Shore excursions is a mixed thing.
Okay.
Because it totally depends on your itinerary, where you're going, what you want to do, if you're an experienced cruiser or if it's your first time cruise. Caribbean, a lot of times, unless it's something you very specifically want to do, you don't necessarily need to book ahead of time. We went to Hawaii in March, and unfortunately, we waited a little too long to book our shore excursions, and the one we really wanted got sold out. So if it's something you very, very much want to do, absolutely book it ahead of time. Europe, same thing. I mean, Europe, a lot of times that where you're going isn't close to the port unless you're on a river cruise.
Right.
So they have to arrange the buses and things like that. So once again, if it's something you really, really want to do, absolutely book it ahead of time. Can I tell you a little funny story here? Because I have,
of course.
But the first time my husband came to Paris, I've been to Paris a couple of times, but the first time he had come to Paris with me, I had decided, of course, we had to see, Eiffel Tower and things like that. I knew, even though I'd seen them, he had to see them. But I had wanted to do the catacombs.
Okay.
And I was determined, I knew, okay, the day we arrived, I had it all organized, and I booked it through a reputable vendor that I know. We took the subway to where we had to meet, and there was a huge long lineup. And as soon as we got to the top of the stairs of the subway, my husband used some very colorful language, and he said, "Oh, like we were having to wait in that line." And I turned to him and I said, "My dear, you're with a travel agent now." "Of course not." I said, "You see those 4 people standing to the right of that big long line? That's our tour." And, he was grateful that I had done that and planned ahead and booked it. And yeah, we were not in any line, and it was an amazing tour. Something I highly recommend, the catacombs in Paris, for sure.
Wonderful. Now, something that I know is very important to us here in Canada, and I expect a lot of places, is arrive a day early. Why is that important, Anne-Marie?
Oh my gosh. Well, as I said earlier, flying isn't the greatest. There's plane delays. There's so many things that can happen. I truly believe the most stressful part of any vacation is getting there, the flying. So if you leave a day ahead, you get a chance to get to where you're going. And if you're delayed, or if, something happens, you're not thinking, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to miss my ship." So it gives you that little extra buffer zone, a little bit of time to kind of decompress before you get on the ship. So you starting your vacation relaxed.
Right.
And then once again, going to Europe, like you're talking jet lag,
Right.
At least one day early. And if it's somewhere you've never been before, a few days early, if you can do it. Yeah.
Perfect. Now, we're on board the ship. One of the things that we would do when we first get on board is, before we got our luggage, is go exploring, get to know the ship. How important is that?
It's so important, because once again, as your vacation starts coming along and you're cruising along, to know where things are is very important. But also, I find if I don't explore the ship before we sail, there's often places that I never get to see. It's the end of the cruise, and it was like, "Oh, I never got there." So, I always start at the top and work down. That's the way I do it. And then that way you've seen everything, and, we always find our favorite spots on the ship.
Right.
But this way it gives you a good chance to see the entire ship. And maybe your favorite spot would have been somewhere different if you hadn't explored the ship.
So it pays to get the lay of the cruise ship,
It does.
as opposed to the lay of the land, get the lay of the cruise ship.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so that leads into my next tip, which is to make breakfast an occasion, for us anyway. And exploring the ship, we learned to explore the Oasis class ships, and we found a wonderful place to have breakfast when we weren't having breakfast on our balcony, which is also an occasion. How did that work for you, Anne-Marie?
Well, I'm the opposite. I'm not a morning person. So breakfast is, I would say 99% of the time in my cabin.
Right.
And that is why a room service menu is kind of very important to me. Some cruise lines, their morning menu is just like a put together, muffin with egg and ham on it. That's why it's very important what categories I pick on a cruise ship, in that I want a breakfast menu that I can actually order, and it's a real breakfast.
I
But
hear
yeah,
you.
99% of the time it's in my cabin.
Now, the other tip that we have is to take advantage of port days for less crowded venues on the ship, perhaps the spa and that kind of thing. How does that work?
Absolutely. For a spa, if you want a massage and it's a port day, there's savings to be had there.
Okay.
So yeah, and it's just a different feel when the ship is empty. The staff, you're weighted on hands and foot. It's so relaxing. But yeah, a lot of times when it's port day, they will actually have special pricing for massages, different things, acupuncture, things like that. So absolutely, if it's somewhere that you've been before and you don't really want to get off the ship, enjoy your day on the ship and, pamper yourself.
Great
Yes.
advice. Great advice. And definitely adds to your vacation and relaxation.
Oh, yes, for sure. Yeah.
So my final tip, and I think it's probably the most important and in this day and age, almost a must, is if you're thinking about a cruise vacation, that you should really have the services of a professional cruise specialist travel advisor in your corner.
Absolutely. I cannot recommend that enough. Times are so different now. We are in touch directly with the cruise lines. So we get, our reps email us almost daily on the difference of what's happening, what's changing, what's going on. To try to do that yourself is so difficult. And even, for instance, my river cruise that I took in April with my group, so many people at the airport when they arrived in Paris, there's a form that you need to fill out online that so many people around us hadn't even heard of that, didn't know about that. And my group all had their paperwork and just walked right through.
Right on.
And it's because I told them, and because it was simple, I actually filled it out for them. Just things are changing at lightning speed and we're on the pulse of it.
Something that's very important to me, and probably when you think about it, important to most people, is time.
Yes.
Talk to me a little bit about the amount of time that you as a travel advisor are experiencing when you're dealing with a cruise line now. Like, what is the wait time? Like, I've heard stories that, if you want to get something changed or deal with a particular issue, that you're spending literally hours on the phone on hold.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I've at one point last week, I had both of my lines on hold with two different cruise lines and my cell phone on hold.
Right.
Yeah, it's hours. Sometimes, and not only on hold to try to just get through, but because the cruise lines are trying their best to hire people, you're getting new agents who don't know how to do things, don't know the answers, are kind of a little afraid to do things on their own. So they're putting you on hold to go ask their supervisor. So if you have booked directly with the cruise line, you're the one on hold for hours and hours and hours. And if you get a new res agent that doesn't really know. I mean, the other thing too, I've had res agents tell me something that I've known is absolutely not true.
Right.
And I've said to them, no, that's not right. And they've said, no, it is right. And I've said, no, you need to go ask your supervisor because I know that's not right. And they've come back. So they're learning. So if you don't know that they're not giving you the right information.
Right. But if you're trying to do this yourself, you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
Right.
So, and your time is precious. I mean, everybody's time is precious.
And we're not picking on the cruise lines here. It's just that with what we had to deal with COVID, and they had to basically stop doing business for 12 to 18 months, and then they have to try and ramp it back up again with staff. So it's been a challenge. It's been a challenge for them, and they're doing their best.
Oh, they are definitely doing their best. And I mean, like I said, things are changing rapidly. They're still having to change itineraries and things like that. So not to, and it's not just the cruise lines. It's all vendors.
It's everywhere.
All, vendors.
Anything travel related.
Yeah.
Well, Anne-Marie, that's absolutely great information. Do you have any other advice for cruisers looking to book for 2023 or beyond?
Honestly, book early. Prices are skyrocketing.
Oh, really? Okay.
I'm shocked at some of the prices.
Yeah.
For instance, I'm escorting a Greek cruise next May, and my pricing is up to $1,600 per person less.
Wow.
Than what the cruise line. And the cruise line that I'm going with right now has an amazing deal on, but my pricing is still so much cheaper. And I do have a few cabins left on my January cruise. Mm-hmm. Once again, my pricing is thousands of dollars less than what the cruise lines are offering. So my suggestion is, honestly, book as early as you can. Book early. Lock in that price.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on that note, as Canadians living in the Great White North here, and like all snowbirds, we like nothing better to do to get out of Dodge in the middle of winter. So you've got plans for winter 2023. Where are you off to?
Well, I'm off to the Caribbean, January 30th. I'm on Celebrity Silhouette, gorgeous ship. It's a wonderful 10-night itinerary, a good mixture of islands to see and some sea days, which are always lovely. Like I said earlier, I only have 3 cabins left.
Oh dear. Okay.
So it is selling out quickly. It's an amazing itinerary, and I will be there. My escorted groups work a little differently than some people's escorted groups. I basically am there. I put shore excursions aside. If you want to come along, you can. If you want to do your own thing, you're more than welcome to. I don't want people to think that because it's an escorted group that, oh my gosh, it's stuck in that little group. Absolutely not. We can go for 10 days with, just a hello crossing each other. So it's your vacation. You enjoy it the way you want to.
Wonderful. Sounds like a great cruise. I'll leave that link in the description.
Yes.
If folks wanted to find out more information about either this cruise or another cruise vacation with you, how do they do that?
Well, always call my toll-free number. It's 1-800-535 9424.
Okay.
Or you can email me at info@lovetocruise.ca, and love is spelled LUV.
Okay. Perfect.
And from my website too.
Of course. Well, Anne-Marie, that sounds wonderful. I look forward to hearing more about your upcoming cruise adventures. So for now, I'm just going to wish you smooth sailing on all your future cruises. May the wind always be at your back, and I hope to see you on a Lido deck real soon.
Thank you for having me, and yes, we will cruise together soon.
We will. Take care, Anne-Marie.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
And that about wraps things up for today, folks. A very special thanks to my guest, Anne-Marie Gaudet of Cruise Holidays Select. If you'd like to reach Anne-Marie about a cruise, I will leave her contact information in the description. If you'd like to reach us, send a question to questions@realtravelexperts.com. Visit our website, realtravelexperts.com, or simply leave a comment. We always respond. And as always, folks, if you enjoyed this content, a like, subscribe, and a ring of the bell is certainly appreciated and helps us to spread the word. So until next time, happy travels.